Hello everyone, and welcome to my review. And this is now the time to see the T14. So let's talk about the stats of this tank. Now the tank has 110 damage per shot. Now with 175 with HE rounds, but the HE round are pretty much useless with the crappy 38mm pen on it. Now this tank is almost the same as a stock M4, except that it has more armor and yeah, it's got a stock gun on the M4. So you can see that the rate of fire and the damage output is pretty decent for a tier 5 premium heavy, and also you don't see tier 7, so you see this sort of matchup you see it quite often. And your reload time should be 3.81, but I have a pretty good crew from my T32, and yeah, so for me it's pretty decent for the reload and everything. I can't really be bothered with the Chi because he can't really pen me. The difference is that this tank has one of the best engine power at the tier 5 level, because it has a whooping 720 horsepower. Now I think it has more horsepower than loads of tanks, even high tier tanks, so it's pretty decent. And the weight of the tank is 49 tons. You can get it up to about, let me find the number, you can get it up to about the weight of 49.8 tons, but at the moment I probably have it around 49 tons, around that. And yeah, it's pretty heavy, as you know. 49 tons is not a small number, and it's likely just to be able to ram almost all opponents in the game, because you have a pretty good, decent speed. But the problem with this tank is that it doesn't have a good traverse speed, with which it's only 20 degrees, and I'm not angling perfectly. And when you use gold against another T14 is pretty decent. The reason why I have to use gold is that even with gold you're gonna bounce some of your shots against heavily armored tanks, and sometimes in order to carry or do well you have to use gold. Now I don't want to use it on just everyone, because that's just a bit too how do we call it? It's a bit too overpowered, and it's not something you should do. Loading full gold. Choose your targets. Like this Marder 38T, he's not gonna have a chance against me. Track him with the first shot, and here comes the ram. Yeah, I never knew this thing was about 49 tons, and you can see the gun really couldn't pen the headset, but I could supposedly aim at the lower play button. I can't really be bothered when I'm on 6 kills, and I'm just thinking about getting a possible rally voltage, but it's not gonna come. So let's talk about other stats of the tank. It has a 570 signal range, not the best, but it's okay. The repair cost, maximum repair cost is about 6,000, so that's pretty cheap. And your max climbing angle is 25 degrees. It's pretty decent, because you have a pretty good horsepower, but the traverse, as I said, it was 20 degrees, which is pretty bad, and it has a pretty bad terrain resistance across the board. And also the horsepower per ton ratio is 15, so that's okay. I think that's pretty good anyway. 2.2 second aim time, and minus 10 degrees elevation, and elevation angles downwards, so you're gonna have 10 degrees depression, so that's like phenomenal. And 25 degrees elevation going up, and then you have 0.46 accuracy, so it's not a sniper. The velocity of the shells is horrendous, so you gotta go close range and just brawl it out with the enemy, like I did. Just steamroll into the enemy base and you'll be fine. And it's really overpowered in my opinion, especially if you're gonna play with gold, but I really don't recommend you to do it with gold. But load some gold so that you can win your games. I'm having like 80% win ratio on this tank. Is hilarious to play. I love to play it, and Yeah, would I recommend it? Yes, to everybody, even for a noob. Yeah, but and the one thing you gotta learn in the T14 is side scraping, because the side skirts is actually pretty decent. So is the tracks, and is a good way to learn side scraping for a noob. And also, the gun depression on this you can work with, especially on maps like Himmelstoff, and you can work with the gun depression on the hill and only exposing your turret, and low tiers and tanks of your own tier would struggle to pen you. Now the tank does fear the KV1S, but then one way to do the KV1S is uh, to make them hit your space armor or something and make them bounce, and you just DPM them out with your premium round. That's the way forward on this tank. But yeah, against lower tiers it's just too easy. And would I recommend this over the Churchill? Probably yeah, and I would say get it if you want to have a crew trainer. Now this tank actually trains more XP, I think, for the crews than some tier 7 and 8 premium. So yeah, if you want to have an American heavy crew trainer, then yeah, T14 is really good, and especially if you're gonna get a discount, it is fairly cheap. And thanks to Hank Bank who gave me this tank. And that's all for today, and hopefully you enjoyed this video as much as I did. I did almost 2000 damage and it's pretty brutal. Yeah, and thanks for watching then.